Hello and welcome to the final episode of Let's Play Final Fantasy Tactics Rebirth. This is it. I believe we have 2 battles left to do. To track down Vormav and take out the final boss of the game. You know, the Fomalhaut, we could do more damage with a elemental gun, possibly, but the Fomalhaut is kind of guaranteed damage. So I think we're going to stick with the Fomalhaut. And we don't need jump +3, I believe. It's kind of a good question. Do we want move +2 or do we want fly? What's our jump stat? 4. I think like that's enough. So let's go with move +2 here. Agrius, you do not the Germinus points. It's an equipped thing. Genji Gauntlet, absolutely. No doubt about it. Rad is fine. Got that. Okay, are we good to go? Is this it? Is this the end? I think it is. Oh wait. Oh ho ho ho. That's right. This already gives you re-raise, so I don't need the angel ring. Kind of forgot about that. You're gonna have the sprint shoes. And do we need Secret Hunt? Absolutely not. But we don't actually have anything better. Equip change? Sure, why not? Let's use equip change. Okay. Okay. I mean, I'm obviously not going to use that, but it's just fun for a joke. Ooh, getting a bit nervous. But I don't think there's any reason to, really. I think we're going to be just fine. Let's do it. Okay, so, Ramza. Go back here. Put Alicia there. Lavian will go in the back. And Chris. Rad. Let's do it! Graveyard of airships. So, the actual meaning of that screwed up sentence was that he was wondering if Alma really was Ajora's reincarnation. And given the location that we're in, we can assume that maybe Ajora died in a airship crash? I don't know, this is supposed to be where he died, so... Unlike most of the Lucavi, you don't actually have to fight Vormav's original form in this battle before fighting Hashmalum. Defeat Hashmalum. Get away, get away. So, Lavian is going to be kind of useless here. I think we're gonna try to nerf his magic attack. Wow. Well, how it doesn't mess around. Run here? Maybe? Zodiac. Took one for the team. Yeah, so I think this battle wasn't modified at all in Rebirth, because that was just sad. And the legendary Saint Adrora is among us. We have failed. Or have we? Yeah, so it's kind of interesting, like, whether to think about whether or not Adrora was a man. I think he was. So in that case, there's kind of like a gender bending thing going on here, where you've got like a man inhabiting Alma's body. But I could be wrong about that. Have to maybe check about that and post a comment after I finish the video. It's kind of interesting. I don't think we need to make any changes. That battle obviously went pretty well for us. Hashmalum was, about, like, on a scale of difficulty, I'd say he was roughly equivalent to, like, a black chocobo that you encounter, in a random encounter battle. So not the most formidable foe. Yeah. Let's finish this up. So maybe, once again, our character placement isn't going to matter at all, but I guess I'll go through this anyway. If you're wondering how we got on this airship, don't ask. It's Ultima! So I believe this boss is referred to as the nice body, for obvious reasons, which will become even more obvious once we fight the next boss. We go after Ultima. Okay. Woohoo! I think I'll go for Cheer Song because it will last into the next fight. If I remember correctly. I may not. I should have just stayed back. I'm gonna do this. That is gonna be invaluable. It's time to use the elixirs. They really don't like Alma. I'm starting to get that impression. Agrius is just being an excellent tank here. There was a reason why we buffed her brave. That was very effective. We need to bring her back, we'll bring her back. That's irritating. Ramza, just keep doing what you're doing. Ooh. Now that is strong, right? Okay, so we can't bring Alma back just yet, because we do need to deal with this Agrius issue. It's that time. Yes, that's right. Time you've all been waiting for. Stuff. Not quite in range. She's going to do some crazy damage. I do want to try to stay a little bit spread out. You can't win them all, right? Oh, gotta kill Alma again, right? I guess that's just a personal mission. If Alma can get a turn, I think she has a really good spell that she can cast for us. Wow, that was psychedelic. I doubt this is a possibility. Oh, it is a possibility. Well, alright then, let's do it. Come on, Agrius. Echo Grass, no. Oh, I think I don't have the skill to resolve that. I don't. So Agrius is just gonna go around beating on the enemy. Alright. Because I don't think there's any other way to get rid of Berserk, right? You can't hit the guys to get them to do that. So, let's try to get an elixir in on Alma again. Now you might be saying, oh Kyle, you're wasting, you are wasting your elixirs, but this is the last battle, so who cares? This is what I got them for. There we go. So this is the not so nice body, obviously. We know what to do. Get out of here! Too bad our demon friend is gone. there's any items I need to use at this point. I think next round I might want to consider a high ether. We're not quite at that stage yet. Okay, so we don't have to worry about Alma anymore. She's taken care of. Actually, apparently if you do have Ultima, you can cast it on Alma in this battle, and Alma will learn Ultima and then be able to cast on the enemies, which would be pretty cool. It's kind of the only reason I really wanted Ultima. So I don't think I can shoot from this angle because I will hit Agrius. So I'm just going to have to kind of go around. And using Cheer Song while we're at this. Now, I want to make sure that... Yeah, I want to make sure I can hit him. Go Agrius. My concern there is that I believe Ultima has teleport, so if we don't target the spell directly on it, it will evade. What's it gonna do? It's gonna cast some crazy spell, I'm sure. Ah. So what is your MP at? It may be the point at which I want to use a high ether. I could go beat on Ultima with Lavian. Might be a better option than trying to use this dance thing on it. What are you gonna do, Alma? You're gonna cast M Barrier on one of us, right? Yep. You. Okay. Just a debuff. Alright, that's it. So much for the mighty Saint Ajora. That's right! FFT Rebirth. This game is complete. Alright, so that's our big ending to the game. I guess there's two interpretations you could take away from that. One is that Ramza died in Murond, in the giant explosion, and I mean, remember that Rofel said that there was no way out. He had destroyed the exit, and you know, and then there was that airship was utterly destroyed in the explosion. So it seems quite reasonable to expect that Ramza was killed there. Then, however, there's the other side of the story, which is after his funeral ceremony, he shows up with Alma, and Olan catches sight of him. Now, the way I always took this is that this was a hallucination that Olan had, that, like, he was something he wanted to be true rather than something that actually was true. So, yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a figment of Olan's imagination. But apparently, after the PSP version of this game was released, Matsuno cleared this up, and they do survive. Alma and Ramza both survived the incident in Murond. And this, you know, this final cinematic is a real series of events. It's not just, you know, like, the way I always took it was that it was kind of a spiritual, like, this was their spirits being free. In real life, they could never really be free because of their, you know, their rank and being named heretic, and, you know, the simple fact that it would be difficult for them to continue to live together as siblings, because, well, you know, Alma would have to be married off, and Ramza would have to be burned at the stake, and all the other sorts of things that would have to happen. He'd have to join Olan on the stake, burned to death. But, you know, in this ideal world, or in the afterlife, they could be together. And as I mentioned before, there's this whole undertone of incestuous desire that's realized sort of in a fantasy at the end of the game, with, you know, the two the brother and sister riding off into the sunset, never to be seen again. If you know, if they actually survived, then why were they never seen again? That seems extremely improbable, considering how famous they were. You know, maybe they fled to the east, right? And they made it out of Ivalis, and that's how they survived. But generally, the whole thing seemed kind of implausible to me, and so I assumed that they were dead. And this was just a fantasy, or it was a scene from the afterlife. But one way or the other, apparently they did survive. And as Olan's descendant wrote in his history, Ramza was taken as the true hero eventually, hundreds of years after the fact. and you know, we're supposed to remember him as a man of great honor. Um, and I guess, you know, it's sort of like, did he live up to Balmain's expectations on his deathbed? And I guess you can say that he certainly did, right? He survived the treachery of Dysadarg. He tried to uphold the Beowulf name, but realized that eventually his personal principles and you know, his sister were more important than the name Beowulf. And ultimately, he, you know, the way that this is all kind of shoehorned in with the mystical or spiritual story at the end is that it's taken that he is a descendant of the hero who killed Ajora the first time, and therefore, when he was when Balbain's told him to uphold the Beowulf name, it at first appeared that he did not do so because the name was ruined with Dysadarg and Zalbag's fall, but in fact he did by destroying Ultima and upholding the legacy of his ancestors. So we've got one last scene to watch here, and then I'll just do a little bit more commentary before we close this all up. And this is kind of the final vindication of Ramza's principles against um, the political principles of a Delita. You know, it's better to live a life of simplicity out on the road with those you love than to try to seize power and conquer the world in the name of greatness. What happened in that scene there isn't entirely clear. It seems that maybe Ovilia expected Delita to kill her, and therefore was ready with a knife to get the drop on him. But it's also possible that she just wanted to kill him because she was at the breaking point. Yeah. So, you know, it's kind of like he gained the world. What does a man gain if he loses his immortal soul? Well, that was sort of the story of Delita, right? If he gains the world but loses his immortal soul, yeah. So he lost his principles in the end. He was just another corrupt politician in Ovilia's eyes, and the woman he loved killed him. Or tried to kill him. Of course, he didn't die there. But his spirit was crushed by that event. And that is the end of Final Fantasy Tactics Rebirth. What would I say about the end of, Act 4? I think having played the game again, Act 4 is pretty uneven, and the reason why I think it's so uneven is that it feels like the denouement of the game rather than the climax. Even though there is the big scene at Bethla Garrison, even though there is Ramza's confrontation with his brothers, even though there is the grand sort of spiritual or magical conclusion to the game, the epic battle on the airship, it all kind of pales against the scenes at Riovane's castle, which I feel are, for some reason, the actual climax of the story. They're the moment of the highest tension, and everything after that does feel like it's a little bit downhill from there. The beginning of Act 4 is also very slow, and I think that hurts it. The section in Limbury is kind of a detour from the rest of the story, and that slows things down again. Although it is, it's a fun section of the game, it is a little bit slower paced than some of the other parts. And there really doesn't, the whole plot with Alma trying to save Alma, it's not really effectively conveyed in Act 4, I feel, or in Chapter 4. In the scenes at Riovane's castle, you actually feel a sense of, concern or a sense of tension that, Alma's in this crazy, chaotic situation with people getting murdered left and right by these crazy demons. And what's going to happen to her, who knows? But you never really feel that tension in Chapter 4, and maybe it's just because she doesn't show up much. But I think it's also because, you don't see... she doesn't show up much, so that's one thing. And then the other thing is that there are so many different subplots that are being resolved in Chapter 4, which don't involve her directly. And therefore, it feels like the attention is diverted until the very end, when it's like, oh, now that I've dealt with all these other things I have to deal with, I guess I'll go save Alma, right? It does kind of feel that way. And so I feel that Chapter 4 was not really that successful in that way. And what else is there to say? I mean, section by section, some parts of Chapter 4 are very good and really quite memorable, but I guess there's a reason why I always kind of quit playing once I got to Riovane's castle, because it does feel, to me at least, as the climax of the game. And you can let me know what you feel or how you feel about that. So that's enough about the story. Suffice it to say, I do think it's quite a good story, even though it does have various pacing issues. So how about Rebirth? How about the mod? What's my opinion about that, having finished the game now and basically cleared all the content? I think that my main question going into this game and trying to review it compared to the original Final Fantasy Tactics, or vanilla Final Fantasy Tactics, was, is it more fun than Final Fantasy Tactics, right? Is it an improvement on the original? I haven't played a whole lot of the other modifications of Final Fantasy Tactics that are out there. I've played a little bit of 1.3, but I never really got into them that seriously. So really my only point of reference for Rebirth was, is it an improvement on the original or not? And having played through the whole thing, I really have to say I think it is an improvement on the original. There are some areas where I feel that it could have been a little better. So, for example, that Vormav fight was pretty sad, and it could have been quite a bit better. Especially considering it wasn't a fight where you have the opportunity to buff up your characters before taking on the big boss. Like unlike the Ultima fight. So like there were some fights here or there that I thought could be improved, but generally speaking, I think the encounters were quite a bit better than in vanilla. A lot of that had to do with the enemies getting superior equipment, and that is kind of a mixed bag, because as we saw, you can either invite characters or steal their equipment, and thereby negate the advantage that the enemies have according to their equipment. So that is kind of like a limited path that the mod designers could take in order to rebalance the missions, because eventually the player will overcome those advantages and find themselves on an equivalent level to the enemies. Granted, you know, I went through the deep dungeon, I got most of the items, which is something I've never done before. I really only did it because I was doing this video series, this Let's Play, and I wanted to go for a little bit of a completionist run, just so that all of you could see exactly what was available in the game and how the equipment had been rebalanced and how that effectively played out in the game itself, as opposed to just on a spreadsheet. But yeah, I feel that, you know, there was also issues like where they adjusted the levels of the enemies a bit, and they adjusted their abilities. We saw cool things like that wizard that had 2 dragon rods and you know, could go and beat you with them and cast Bahamut. You know, never effectively used, but it was still kind of cool to see. And there were some other enemy combinations that were quite interesting. And generally, I felt that the challenge level was higher than in vanilla, because vanilla is just it's a really easy game, except for, you know, a few levels that are really irritating or broken, such as the rooftop of Rio Vani's castle, which is still broken. You know, there's just no way to really address that level in a way that would allow multiple strategies to complete it, rather than just buffing up your speed and going for broke. Other things that I thought were really good about Rebirth, the poaching. Poaching was much improved. Certainly, you know, having access to all those items through poaching does negate some of the difficulty increases that are in the game, but at the same time, the player gets those bonuses by actually taking advantage of some of the improved features of the game, and so I feel like that's a net positive, because, you know, it encourages the player to maybe expand on what they did in vanilla. That's certainly something that happened to me, because in vanilla I was very apathetic about poaching. I was not really all that interested. Like, I say that I just went and cheesed everything with TG Sid, but I did actually do some runs where I didn't do that, and even in those cases, I basically stayed away from poaching. So, I feel like that was a big improvement. Many of the classes are greatly improved, certainly. Geomancer, big one. Even the Knight, I'd say, is a little bit better. Still not the greatest class. What else? Summoner, so much better, right? Summoner is so much better in this, I feel. Because I felt that, like, Summoner was something that was really viable in the early game in vanilla, but then, like, just kind of petered out in the late game. But maybe that was just because I wasn't doing effective builds. I'm not sure. But I do feel that they were improved. Yeah, basically all the casters are so much better because of the modification to the way that the CT system works, and the way that their turns come up. Like, aside from the summoner, all of the other casters got speed buffs. Oracle is really good, like even better than in vanilla. I don't know, I mean, I could go through one by one, but I feel like generally the balance changes were positive. And I felt like most of the classes were viable. I felt that the Geomancer did get a little bit weak towards the end of the game, because there was not a upgrade to the axe. If there had been a better axe available, I think the Geomancer would have stayed really, really viable into the late game. And I'm not sure if that's something that other mods to the game did, you know, making another axe available, or if even that's something you can mod into the game. Yeah, aside from that, I was impressed. I was impressed with this game. I enjoyed it quite a lot, and this Let's Play is something that, you know, I kind of wanted to do because I'm turning 30 next year, and this was my favorite game growing up as a kid, and so this is kind of a good way to say goodbye to my youth, head towards, you know, middle age, and I think Rebirth was an excellent way to kind of put some new life into Final Fantasy Tactics and enjoy it all over again. But all that being said, I think I'm kind of done with Final Fantasy Tactics. Having done this Let's Play, I dug deeper into the game than I ever have before, and I think I kind of, you know, sucked the marrow out of it. I enjoyed basically everything there is to enjoy about it, and I saw some of its, you know, some of its weak points as well as its strong points, in ways that I didn't really appreciate when I was younger. In the future, maybe I will finish the PSP version of Tactics Ogre. It is another Matsuno game that I very much enjoyed, but I will say that there is a little bit too much in the way of side quests in that game. It is just gigantic, the amount of time that you can pour into it. So I'm a little bit on the fence about that, but I am very much looking forward to Unsung Story, the next Mitsuno game that is coming out. I really hope it lives up to the legacy of Final Fantasy Tactics and includes some, you know, game design improvements and some modernization of the formula, and that the, you know, the art assets and everything are just as nice as they are in Tactics, and the battles are even better than before, and that the storyline lives up to you know, sort of this high watermark that was set by Final Fantasy Tactics. Obviously, the translation is very weak in this PlayStation version, but nevertheless, as far as video game plots goes, this is a very, very strong example of what can be done. Like, it's kind of... I mean, I understand that the average is so low that it's not that hard to be a big fish in a small pond, but I really do feel like this is an outstanding plot as far as video games go. Some BioWare games maybe are up there as well. Maybe some parts of StarCraft 1 also has a very good story if you omit the Zerg campaign. Yeah, I just feel like writers are so undervalued in the games industry, and it's like the easiest thing that they could improve by hiring better writers, and yet they decide to spend millions and millions of dollars creating the most incredible art assets, and then just piss it all away with a really bad storyline. I think that, you know, the recent Blizzard games and the recent Final Fantasy games are the worst offenders in this regard, especially the Final Fantasy games. You look at the amount of graphical talent that exists at Square Enix, and just look at how lopsided the games are, where they have this incredible artistic talent, and then on the other side, you just end up with absolutely appallingly bad dialogue and appallingly bad stories, such as that of Final Fantasy XIII, which is maybe the last Square Enix game I've played in recent years. So I really do hope that Unsung Story kind of reverses that trend and makes a serious contribution to the JRPG genre. I know it's kind of a half American, half Japanese game, but I still think it will kind of be lumped in with other Japanese RPGs. So I hope it's a bright spot, right? Maybe it'll be up there with Xenoblade as you know, a few bright spots in an otherwise very grim landscape of quality. So, just the last thing I wanted to talk about before I sign off here and end this series, I wanted to give some shoutouts to people who were commenting in the Something Awful thread. Schwarzkopf, thanks so much for all the effort posts. I very much appreciated all your help. You're clearly the master of this game, and much more so than me, but I'm glad that you kind of enjoyed following with my buffoonery throughout this. Other people who contributed significantly, I believe Dry Hump, Gildergun, you guys were in there, J-Man52, and Rotten Cookies liked your comments. You always had some interesting things to say. Koguma, thanks for the comments as well. And gee, I'm gonna miss people, aren't I? Yeah, there's so many of you with the garbage dick avatars that it all kind of flows together. But Corvinus, Broken Box, Black Ray Jack, Unreal One, Davs, Chaos Draken, and geez, that about it. Sergeant Cloud, Digeris. Well, I know I'm gonna miss some people. Dr. Brain Trust, and Harrower. Well, for those of you who didn't get shoutouts, I apologize. But I do hope you enjoyed the series if you watched this far. And I don't think I'll be doing another Let's Play for some time. I'm going to try to finish a RPG Maker game I've been working on. It's going to be quite a short one, but if you are interested, you can continue to follow my channel, and I might do some maybe project updates on that. But yeah, it's going to be about a maybe 30 to 45 minute long game that's going to tell a simple story that I hope will kind of go outside the boundaries of what's the typical content of a JRPG or something you would expect from a RPG Maker game. So if you are interested in following that, you can stick with this channel. And, you know, I might do some more Let's Plays in the future, but I don't have any plans for one in the near future. So thanks so much to all of you for watching and putting up with my mistakes and, you know, giving me encouragement and excellent commentary throughout the whole series. It means a lot to me, and I very much enjoyed doing this Let's Play for you. Goodbye.